to the what is this course called? Practical Spirituality here at the Essentials course in Aisha Torah World Center, Jerusalem. I'm just getting my payas ready. I just got out of the bath. I just decided to take a bath right before class. And then right in. It was amazing. I was just in there like melting away with candlelight and light music and bubbles. Lavender. I don't like bubbles. And listening to some, you can't listen to Torah in the bathroom, so instead I put on some guru from India talking about the afterlife. I basically was there by the time he finished. Falling asleep in a hot bath. Anyway, do my payas look okay? When in doubt, listen to a guru in a hot bath. So, anyway, but I'm in a total non-resource state, so I'm going to teach a class that's easy for me to teach and interesting for you to hear. Okay. Just to give an update, I feel bad. We did this whole discussion about saving this family from getting evicted, a family of 10. And we even raised funds, Baruch Hashem. We needed $3,700, and we got it, which is amazing. So when they got to their court case to pull their house out of getting ripped out from under them by the bank, the bank thought they were going to walk in there showing how much he owed. And when they pulled out the thing to show how much he owed, the lawyer that I also arranged came out. This is just for a family who lives in Beitar, outskirts of Jerusalem. So the lawyer pulls out his, like, you could, the ink was still dripping, because it got paid that morning. The bank, thought they had him, to show he's not current on the house. And, but in fact, the lawyer pours out the fresh ink. I mean, you could have gotten stoned smelling this paper. And it said F is F is F, like 0, 0, 0, he owes nothing. So their lawyer was like, what is this? And we pulled that off. This class, the Facebook Live, we pulled this off. And the lawyer went against, obviously the lawyer's still going to do his lawyer thing, so their lawyer went off. And so the judge said, listen, he's clean, we're not taking away his house. He's got 2 months to pay his mortgage for the next 2 months, and now I'm willing to take his house out of this whole mess. And so we got 2 more months, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to be good, and just want everyone to know that we got that done. So it's nice to know. Sometimes you hear about, people are doing a cause, and then you never get to find out whether it worked. So it worked. I wanted it to work all together, but okay, I'll take a 2-month extension, and the price of his mortgage is about half the price of what we raised in 1 day. So please God, we'll get this pulled off. Now, and by the way, I raised 8 months of his mortgage, about $11,000. And what I did wrong was didn't realize there were legal fees. It was the $3,700 was the bank charging us his legal fees. Is that ridiculous? Like, you got a poor guy who's been paying his mortgage, blew his mortgage, but then pays it in one big chunk. Like, you're gonna slam him and take away his house for the leftover legal fees? You hear what I'm saying? Like, that's just cruel. And his by the way, his electricity is only on because I gave him my credit card number. So if anyone would like to give any electricity to a family, it runs about 300 shekels, about $100 a week. Is what he's paying right now in electricity. So whatever. Right now they're on my credit card. Please put them on yours now. And who wants the extra merit? You get it. And unfortunately, they don't have gas showers. Their showers are on the electricity in that house. And you should just know, there's a man who supported. He supported over 10 families for the last 15 years with his business before he got attacked by his partner. So like, this is a man who's done nothing but help people. And just one more, why am I on it? He put me on the map 25 years ago. He makarbed me to Chassidut and my shul. Like, he's the one who brought me to my shul. And the only reason I'm here today, standing in front of you, doing what I do, is because of my broad shoulders are from him. And not only that, but the funniest part of the story is about 10 years ago, I had no money for Shabbos. And I didn't want to tell my wife and kids, but like, the kids are kind of like, what are we going to eat? And we had no money for Friday, forget Shabbos. Like, we didn't have any money for food. And so what I did was he's this businessman. So I just said, hey, can we come for Shabbos? He's like, sure. So I bring me and my 8 kids over for Shabbos. And we're just cracking up during the meal. We're just eating away, like everyone's having like double the chicken, like everyone's just like making up for all the lost protein. And and of course, we're very close, so I confided in him that really, we don't have any money. We're here for Shabbos because we couldn't have made it ourselves. And this guy gave it to me over the head for the entire Shabbos. He slammed me. He slammed me for an entire Shabbos, saying like, you, Yom Tov, should never lack. You are not monetizing yourself properly. You are not putting out there in a financial way what you got. And he just got me and got me and got me and got me and didn't stop nailing me the whole Shabbos. And by the time I left him on Shabbos, I was on fire. And you want to know something? There has not been a single day or a single Shabbos where we were in that situation ever since he gave it to me. So not only did he put me on the map 25 years ago, but 10 years ago, he paid for me financially. And as I told those who were here or watched, that I had their whole family over Shabbos because they don't have anything to eat. And I had them all over last Shabbos, 10 family of 10 kids, so it's 12 souls in the house. And I told them during the meal, because all the kids are eating there and they all know they're in a serious situation. So I told them all that you're only eating at my house right now because of your father. This is your father's food. Because he's the one who got me to where I am today and how I'm able to pay for this meal. So it's amazing to give him that credit in his lowest point of his life. Anyway, so anyone wants to be helping out, we're going to do that. We're going to cover this mortgage the next 2 months.
Can I put on Do Not Disturb?
Yeah, of course. And then I got him meetings this week with major businessmen to I want to get him back on his feet. Now that we got him breathing space, let's get him working and back in business. Okay, here we go. Today we're doing 5 levels of relationship. And the only reason we're here is for relationship. That's why you're on the planet. Relationship. That's what you're doing here. So if you have a relationship to yourself, that's the beginning. You have to have a relationship to yourself. Then if you have a relationship with yourself, that's good. Then you can have a relationship with others. If you have a relationship with others, that's good. You can have a relationship with God. And have full relationships. 3 levels of relationship. You to yourself, which enables you to others. And you can have a relationship with Hashem. Now, you to others, just to explain that, because you're probably wondering, why do I have to love myself to love anyone else? And the answer is because when you don't love yourself, that means you're basically sick, and meaning there's something really wrong with you. And what happens is you'll notice, until you love yourself, you will use all your other relationships to feel better. Meaning everyone you know, including your own parents and siblings, are Band-Aids for yourself. That's why you call one parent when you're feeling this way, and you call another parent when you're feeling that way. They serve different functions for your wellness. But once you love yourself, and that's like my main work, like right now I've got a group of like 50 men in Nachla, we have 50 men in the Possibly You. And we're just 50 men who are going to start off not loving themselves, and by the end of the seminar, Possibly You, they'll be loving themselves.
See you, love.
And they have to look in the mirror every day and say, I love you, I really love you. It's part of the seminar. But they can't, most of them couldn't say it, so they're saying instead, I'm willing to learn to love you. Which 20 years ago took me 5 weeks. I had to say, I'm willing to learn to love you for 5 weeks until I could finally say, I love you. I really love you in the mirror. That's what it took. Yeah. You had a question?
No.
Can you hit me with some water, please? So, don't hit me literally. But I got a cup. Okay. So.
Are those yours or someone else?
Anyways, do you understand why you gotta love yourself before you love someone else?
Okay.
Because until you love yourself, you're just using people to feel better about yourself. So loving yourself is the key. And the key to loving yourself is to recognize your essence. Thank you so much. I think I should take the bottle, probably. Or I have another cup here, too. Oh, it's used. Is to recognize your essence. And your essence is your soul, meaning your true essence is your soul. And if your essence is your soul, what's not to love? You know, think about it. If your true essence is the soul, meaning what is the consciousness you're looking at? Right now you see me? You see me, right? Well, what is you that sees me? Your eyes? Eyes don't see. Eyes just report. You have visual cones that report vibrational realities outside of you, which is me right now. And they're reporting those to your consciousness. That consciousness is the soul. And when if you're someone who identifies herself or his self as a soul, so then you know what's not to love. It's very simple. It's just the soul. It's only the little voice in your head, that little voice that says, you know, stupid, ugly, unlovable, unacceptable, unworthy, you know, all that crud, which isn't you at all. That's not your consciousness. That's a stream of thoughts that come from the left brain, and they're formed in your childhood, but that's not you. So the way you love yourself is by stripping away what's not you and getting to what is you, which is the soul. And once you're at the soul, there's what's not to love. Soul has no identity. It's not male. It's not female. It's just pure experience. Pure experience. And if I'm pure experience, so that consciousness that is in the pure experience is certainly worthy of love. It is love. What is love anyway? No, there's no definition of it. But it's a sense of oneness. Sense of oneness, whether it's with yourself, whether it's with others, whether it's with God. Love and one are the same. That's why Bob Marley said, one love. One love. One heart. Let's get together. You ever snap reggae? So, anyway, all love is just an experience of oneness. That's what love is. But that's not a definition. It's just, you know, lack of separation. And so if you can recognize the oneness that's you, you can love yourself. Meaning the oneness of your soul. And it's also the oneness of your soul with all others, all other people. So that's also love. And obviously we have something called soulmates. That's also love. And then we also have a relationship with the actual energy source of all reality. That's also love. So anytime there's a lack of separateness in your life, and you've got this level of unity in your life, so you're in the world called love. And it's an amazing place. It's our greatest desire. And the funny thing is, it has no definition. There's no way to define the word love. And interestingly, what's another undefinable thing that also is very important? Hate you can define. The other one's God. God has no definition. Love and God have no definition. There's zero definition for God, and there's zero definition for love. And yet they're the two things that you want more than anything else.
They have no exact definition or no definition?
No, well, God has no definition at all. No, and love has...
Everyone has their own version of love. Everyone has their own interpretation of love.
Yeah, that's true. But there's never a time where you can stand up in front of a bunch of people, give a definition, and have them all say that's love for them.
Everyone has their own thing. But it's not that it has no definition.
Right. So the closest I can come, though, to something that everyone would agree with
is
God. Is oneness. Meaning when you're not chaylik on yourself, you're not machlokas with yourself. You're not in an argument with yourself. An argument with yourself would be, I'm no good, or I'm you know, awful, or I'm unlovable. That would be having an argument with yourself. But if you let go of that argument and just be in love with yourself, so now you're at one with yourself. You're not mechulak. You're not broken up. But I don't want to go there. I'm not in a philosophical mood at all right now.
Okay, I take it back.
I'm actually in a crazy mood right now. I'm doing my best to even be nice. So when God created this place, I'm professional. Like I've been in some crazy situations. I mean, I've been in situations where literally I was bawling for 6 hours straight, and then having to go be the speaker at a dinner of a major organization, meaning the MC, and giving the keynote. And I literally drove there, not even be able to see. It looked like it was raining.
That's not safe.
and then got up there and nailed it because there's no other way. You know, when you do the thing you do for thousands of hours, it doesn't matter really what kind of move.
You got a thumbs up.
Still trying to figure out what that means exactly at my
Someone
age.
liked what you said.
Okay, that's good. Hey, our soldier's back.
Yeah.
We feel so much safer now. Now the God created this world for relationship. That's the whole point. The whole point of creation is relationship. That's it. And who's the relationship supposed to be with?
God.
With God. That's the relationship. But how do you have a relationship with an infinite being? So what God does is he has you have all kinds of other relationships to practice. Everything's a practice in all your relationships. You're always practicing your relationship with God. And so for the example of how I treat you all here is a practice in my relationship with God. How I treat my children is really a practice in my relationship with God. How I treat my wife is a practice in my relationship with God. How am I treating myself is a practice in my relationship with God. These are all practices. Because none of this exists. Like Kabbalistically, we're in the mind of God. Like none of this. I know this looks 3D, but my hands are like going through goop right now. You know, this is not, nothing's left God's mind. Everything's in God's mind. So this is all God playing video here. God's playing some video game where we have this illusion of free will and all these relationships that we're having. Everything's relationships. Think of that. Your whole life's just, or how about this? This will really drive it home. Ready for this statement? Your life is only as good as your relationships. Think about that one. Your life is only as good as your relationship. So, for example, someone who sees like business is like their life, but their relationships are just like totally burning all around him. How's his life going? It's not going well. His life's only as good as his relationship. And the opposite is someone whose business is crash and burning. His financial life's crash and burning, but he's got a tremendous relationship with his wife, or she has a tremendous relationship with her husband or their children. How's their life? That's okay. Yeah. The important things are okay. I have a friend who went through some hell financially in New York. So whenever I'd call him and say, "How are you?" he'd always say the important things are okay. Yeah.
I hear the statement, but I don't necessarily agree with it.
I'm not good at pronouns. I've made a lot of statements recently. Which one? That your life's as only good as your relationship?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You don't have to
I
agree.
think that's necessarily. I think it's for some people are like that and some people are not. Some people.
You're not like that, obviously.
No, that's not true. Not at all. I just have a very good relationship with God, and they don't have to have so many relationships.
No, he wants it on.
Other
He
than
likes it
that,
when it's
and they're
big.
still very content in their life. So I think it's a matter of
Yeah.
perspective.
You know, I always wonder, I know people who have a terrible relationship with themselves and a terrible relationship with others, but a really strong relationship with God. So I always wonder, because I've met many of people like that, and especially in the Haredi community, and many of them seem OCD to me, a little bit, meaning they're not dealing with certain things in their lives. And so they've just put it all like, they're just throwing it all up there. You know what I mean? Like, I've met a lot of people like that. But I'd like to be able to believe that you could hate yourself, have terrible relationships with others, but still be totally connected to God. Why not? Why not? Kind of like what you're saying. Like, why
You
not?
don't even have to hate yourself. Someone could love themselves.
I'm saying if. I'm putting it in the ultimate. When you do theoretically, you want to go to the ultimate end. Like, I'm going to the ultimate end. I would think that would work, but I've noticed that when I interview them, and you're watching their facial muscles and you're watching the way they're talking about stuff, there's some level of like an OCD thing going on, and then they're just kind of, their obsession is God's going to somehow save me from all of this, which is wonderful. It's true, and it's faith, and it's good, and but I haven't gotten to the bottom of how much we have to be okay to have a relationship with God. Can we be totally messed up and have a relationship with God?
There's no
probably not the healthiest relationship if you're struggling with there's so many other issues. If you don't love yourself, you can't communicate with other people, and then your relationship with Hashem, I just feel like there would be issues.
Well, someone can love themselves and be very confident in themselves. Relationships overwhelm them, so they don't have that many. I don't think it makes them a bad person or a different person.
No one was speaking about good persons and bad persons.
No, I know, but I don't think it's just the opposite extreme. I think there's some people that are very normal and they just.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
How you said before, you know people that have a very bad relationship with themselves and with other people, but they have a very good relationship with God. But before that, you said that everything is kind of, let's say, you have a good relationship with your wife and with your siblings and with your friends, so automatically it's connected to the relationship you have with God. With the
It's one big practice. I
I
didn't say it's a practice in your relationship with God.
What is that exactly?
Because we're inside the mind of God. None of this is here. Meaning, I'm married to this giant thing of goop called Leah, and she's married to this giant thing of goop called Yom Tov, and we have all these little giant things of goop sitting around our table. This is all going on in the mind of God. So, when you're really holding in the Kabbalistic level of life, and you've been given all these relationships, literally b'sher, like you notice how b'sher, who your siblings are, who your parents are. It's so b'sher. You know, and I think my relationship with God is very much mirrored with my relationship with my Father. And it's really, if I'm not okay with my Father relationship, it's a question how good I'm going to be going with God. And there's been some struggles in my life over that. And so like we really got to be at peace with our fathers and our mothers. Those are the people who had us. They're our creators. And God's our true creator. I mean, God's the one who created the eternal part of you, but they created the physical you. God created the soul, they created the body. And so that's your major practice. If our relationship with our parents is not going so hot, so, I mean, if you can't like stay on the phone with your mom when she calls, and she like seems to not be able to call at the right time ever, you know, so that's kind of where you got to be focusing on. Like, it's very nice you said Tehillim at the kotel, but you gotta work that out. And when that's worked out, then your relationship with God becomes more possible to work that out. Because there's all these relationships are all part of this thing. Don't forget, there's not even time. Meaning the passage of time. There's no passage of time. God doesn't do time. Time's only our perspective of lots of nows. What is now? Now is reality. Lots of nows is time. But God only does now. And so, God only does now, and there's lots of nows going on, but God doesn't do time. And he also doesn't do space. He only does what's called the Elokus, which is godliness infused into this big goopy creation of ours. Now, I'm getting too Kabbalistic. I wasn't planning on going Kabbalistic at all. That's why there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on the board. So number 1 is humanity. We're talking about God's relationship with humanity. And that lasted until the time of, it lasts for all time, obviously. But the failures, meaning the constant failure of God's plan A, this was like God's plan A. Really it should say A, B, C, D, because when people say plan, they don't say plan 1. So it's really plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. Okay? So God's original plan was just God in creation. You'll notice that the Jewish people only show up after let's say Mount Sinai is like kind of our big inauguration. So that's 2,448 years, 2448, after the humanity thing. So this goes on for 2,448 years. where it's really just God and humanity. And if I really wanted to be more accurate, I would say like this, because when God gave up, it wasn't at Sinai. God gave up on this whole plan A, gave up on it in 1948. 1948 was the birth of Adam. Birth of Abraham. It's Abraham. In 1948 was the birth of Abraham. And that's about when God threw in the towel. So,
What do you mean he threw in the towel?
well, I mean, he threw in the towel many times.
With
He
everybody
threw in the
else?
towel in the generation of Noah.
I mean, with everybody else.
But he kept Noah and his sons alive. And then 10 generations later of just God and humanity, he threw in the towel. And then there was Abraham. Abraham, he did this whole breeding experiment where he bred off Ishmael, and then he bred off Esau in order to create a Yaakov. That's why we're not called Bnei Abraham. We are not Bnei Abraham. We are not Bnei Yitzchak. Why? Because Bnei Abraham are also all the Arab nomadic tribes. Bnei Abraham are all the Eastern tribes, meaning all the people of India and stuff like that. And Bnei Yitzchak are all the European tribes, Esau, like the United States of Esau, Westerners. So that's all the children of Esau. And so we're not Bnei Yitzchak. We are called Bnei Israel, or Bnei Yaakov, the children of Yaakov. And that all started in 1948 through this breeding experience took place from the advent of Abraham. And this is where God moved into Plan B. Plan B was the Jewish people. And it's now, it's really important you get this. God did not give up on humanity. Think about it. The Jewish people are only 0.01% of the world population. That means 99.9% of the population of the world is humanity. God didn't give up on humanity. God just changed his game. He changed the plan. What's the new plan? The new plan is to create what's called in university a teacher's assistant system, where you can have this like kind of spaced out professor who's like, living in his ivory tower. He has office hours every third Thursday from 11 a.m. till 11:05. He's hooked on caffeine, tobacco, has been divorced 4 times, and he is deeply depressed. And he has very lofty thesis that no one seems to understand, except what? He has about 6 graduate students who are his TAs. And meanwhile, it's Philosophy 101. But how do a bunch of drunken stone college kids understand Philosophy 101 from such a professor? And the answer is
They're stoned.
teacher's assistants. They have graduate students who are also half stoned, and because they're half stoned, they know how to explain to the kids in Philosophy 101, because you can't get out of university without at least a philosophy class. And so those teacher's assistants. Now, what's the ratio of teacher's assistants? Well, different universities have different rules, but let's just say it's 1 to 20, something like that. Well, it's interesting. Can I borrow your iPhone for a second?
Do you want me to unlock it?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's 7 billion divided by 13 million? So there's about 538 Gentiles for every Jew.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
No.
Not at all.
It should be way higher.
No, it shouldn't. 538.
Rabbi, are you a math person?
Let's just say the ratio of a university teacher's assistant is very, I guess, according to God's rules of what the policy is, there's got to be this amount of Jews for the world. You got that? Did I blow the number there?
No.
Okay. So anyway, what it is I'm going to put light beams that go towards who? Who are those light beams going towards? Humanity. God didn't give up on humanity. He just realized he bit off more than he could chew. Because think about it. This matrix we're in, probably most of you thought you were living in a real world until I started talking about my hands going through goop, right? Didn't you all think this was air? And that you're actually having a real life here? So you spent all this time thinking it's real, and you're a Jew in Jerusalem. Imagine what the Gentiles are thinking. And they are locked into the matrix big time. The Jews are locked into the matrix. You yourselves, who probably most of you are observant, you actually keep Shabbat, which the whole point is that none of this world's real, and God lets us pretend for 6 days that we're actually doing something. And then he says, now get your stinking hands out of creation for one whole day so we can rendezvous in the real world. Shabbos is the real world of pure relationship. 6 days he lets us go into the matrix and pretend we're part of things. And the truth is, when you close your door Shabbos night and make Shabbos dinner, it should be that your neighbors could like come pounding on your door and there's nobody home. And they're like, we just saw the whole family go in. They just got back from shul. And they're pounding on the door and they're like, we know you're in there. Finally, you know, because I don't know, let's say something's wrong. There was a gas leak in the neighborhood and they're trying to get everyone out. Finally, someone comes into the house and searches all, they're not there. Meaning, we really disappear every Shabbos. It's just that God wanted the Gentiles to have free will. So he keeps our bodies looking like we're here. And the way we disappear every Shabbos into the truth is by ceasing from manipulating matter. Think about it. The 39 malachas of Shabbos are 39 ways of manipulating things. Because what do we do all 6 days? God lets us go like knock ourselves out, like manipulating things. Sending email here, doing this there, buying this here, turning this off here, turning this on here, taking raw to cooked here, you know, cooking up some raw food and making it cooked. And like he lets us do our thing. Come Shabbat, he's like, let's get back to the truth. Let's get back in. Now, think how much God, one sec, Ezra, think how much God bit off. What's your name? Shlomi. Shlomi, think how much God bit off, thinking the Gentiles were going to get what I just said. The Gentiles of the world. You're Jews and you barely get what I'm saying. And you probably been keeping Shabbos your whole life and never even thought about what I just said. Am I right? You probably, most of you keeping Shabbos never even thought about any of that.
About what?
About what Shabbos is. Meaning what I just shared Shabbos to be.
Could you explain a bit
But
more about the idea of disappearing
like
Shabbos?
Kabbalah and Nistara, that's what Shabbos is. It's not just, you know,
Could you explain
can
it
someone
a bit
pass
more?
the spicy mustard, please? No. My deli roll didn't get enough, yeah. So, Shlomo, can you imagine God trying to do this with humanity? You can't even do it with us. However, there was a way he did it, and the way he did it was prophecy. By giving prophecy, God had a fighting chance. A fighting chance, would say. He had a fighting chance on giving it over to a nation. One nation. How? He already saw the other idea flopped. What if we try this? What if I just break all the rules? Meaning normally the rules are we're here and he's there. What if I break all the rules and just like do a major power surge? You know what a power surge is? Like right now this is coming down at 220. But like in our building we have like, you know, who knows, 10,000 volts. Probably more, 100,000 volts. And then that gets broken down through our circuits to 220. But it's hitting this part of the Jewish quarter at probably 250,000 volts. Aish is probably taking a lot of that. But, you know, it keeps coming down from a power plant that's probably putting out 1 million volts. Or probably 10 million volts or 100 million volts. You get what's going on? So God's like, this has failed for a really long time. And when it comes to Sinai, at 2448.
So why do you wait so long?
When it comes to Sinai, it's really hard to get it between. It looks like an easy shot, but between the ceiling and that thing, it's not so easy. So at 2448 at Sinai, God said, "What if I just like go for it? You know what a power surge is? I mean, we have surge protectors to protect our building, but what if we didn't have a surge protector and instead of 10,000 coming in at Aish, what if 100,000 coming in Aish? What if like 1 million volts or 100 million volts straight from the Jerusalem power plant came in here? What would happen to these bulbs? It's just instantly, we'd all be covered in glass right now.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, well, Sinai was no joy. And what do you think Moses came down and said, like, y'all got 3 days? We're like, 3 days to what? And he was like, I'm not sure. I just got the message that we got 3 days to like figure ourselves out because something's going to go down in 3 days. No one knew it was going to happen. No one had any idea what was going to happen. But all we had was these instructions to prepare ourselves for something super heavy duty, and believe me, it was not cheesecake. It was far from cheesecake.
Maybe. I want to say next.
In fact, if they even found out that cheesecake was the way we were going to celebrate it, it'd just be like, someone explain this? Like, Sukkot, you were in a sukkah. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, Rosh Hashanah, there was a shofar blast. That would make sense too. You know, Pesach, okay, you were eating the bread of affliction, you know. That all works out. When God does the full-on power surge and everyone's covered in glass, we're eating cheesecake. Can you imagine you're eating cheesecake this week and you're like, it's a little shard. Like, you can see my brain is like totally out of control. Now, one sec, no question right now. I'm gonna roll, then I'll come to question. What?
Someone had a question here.
Oh, that's cool. I'm sorry. Listen, I told you at the beginning of this class, I'm holding on for dear life today. You know, like no questions for a little while. So, anyway, the point is just like, the point is that it's just like, God said, I'm breaking all the rules here for Plan B. Plan A was an utter disaster. It was an utter disaster. And what do I mean by disaster? It's very simple. Sexual licentiousness, sorry to go for the jugular, and idolatry. Those are the two biggies all the time. Sexual licentiousness is, why is that of issue for God? The reason it's of issue for God is it's selfish. And meaning you don't even exist. All there is God. But the ultimate expression of like, no, there's only me, is you doing whatever the hell you want with your body. That's like total loss. You lost it. Like once your brain has been taken over by a small part of your body, no offense, you know, at that point God's like, what was the point? What was the point of me doing this? You know, you imagine when God showed the angels, you know, there was that conversation with the angels of creation, like, should I do it, should I not, you know? That's from the letter Nun, let us create creation, Nase Adam. Can you imagine when he showed the angels the diagram of man, and he starts explaining that part of the body? Because angels are probably like, hey, what's that? You know, God had like a whole diagram of man. It was a stick figure, quite literally. And he's like, what's that? And God explains and like shows like the whole history of it. And the angels are like, we're out. We're out. This creation's going nowhere. You know, like man's never gonna get that. He's never going to get the relationship. So this is a dead-end relationship. This is going to be pure selfishness. You know, people are going to ruin their entire families on this, their entire careers on this, their entire everything will fall apart on this one part of the body. It's insane. And God's like, oh, don't worry about it. After 1,948, meaning after 2 millennia of death and destructions through sexuality, what is the commandment Avram gets when Avram figures God out? Circumcision. Now it all starts to make some sense. Because that is a little bit of a bizarre place to be making covenants with people. Wouldn't have been the first place I would have thought of if I were making a covenant with someone, you know. You're making a business deal. Okay, everybody, drop your drawers, you know. We're going to lock this in here. So it was like, what? So, especially if they're Gentiles, because they're like, stay away. Now, but that is why when God finally says we're going for Plan B, we're putting the covenant there. So that maybe, at least if there's enough light in the room, the guy might see it and pour a cold ice bucket of water. He'll join the ice bucket challenge and get a little ice water over his head and get his brain back together. Now, but the other one is idolatry. And idolatry is very simple. You know, imagine God's like, let's see, we got to make an earth. How are they gonna see? I guess we need light. Okay, let's make a sun. And what's going to keep them warm? Oh, the sun does that too. Okay, we got a sun for that too. Oh, we got to eat. Oh, we need photosynthesis. Okay, let's try the sun. And they're like, wow, man. God's like, this sun is great. Like, it does it all. It gives light. It gives heat. And then he's like, but the Earth's just going to be shooting around. Who knows? Gets hit by an asteroid. What's going to happen? So he says, oh my gosh, gravitational pull. The sun works for that as well. The sun is awesome. God loves the sun. He made the sun, and it just does it all for us. Now imagine, I want you to imagine this morning, but not our morning, earlier in India. You know, we're all asleep, so we're more or less covered. So God's just kind of watching some monk in a big sheet come out. You know, he's wearing a sheet. And he comes out of his cave, staring over the Himalayas, waiting for that sun to hit the horizon. And the sun hits the horizon. And God's like really excited to like have this guy, you know, like he's getting up. And, like, imagine, this never happened before, obviously. And the guy just like drops on his face and bows in front of the sun. Now, if you were God, you'd just be like, does anyone have any crackers for my chopped liver?
That was so corny.
Talk about chopped liver. So here God created this perfect entity called the sun that is just so perfect for our planet in so many ways, serving so many purposes. And people worship it instead of the creator of it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So those are deal breakers. Those are deal breakers for God. And so humanity was an absolute disaster for this. However, the Jewish people, how is God going to pull it off? We're also people. We also have sexual desire. We also can easily forget there's a God and think our money comes from work or something. It's easy for us to think that our food comes from the market. You know, oh, doesn't come from the market? Oh, it comes from the field, okay. Where'd it come from there? From the seed? Okay, where'd that come from? But you see, we as Jews can forget. So the way God got us was through full-on power surge, Mount Sinai. Boom! But prophecy didn't end there. God actually let prophecy be part of our national tradition. We were a nation of prophets. Do you know there were times of Israel, temple period, that there were millions of prophets? Millions of prophets. Millions of prophets. Meaning like it was almost impossible to play a card game on Shabbos. You'd be sitting around the table and like your 14-year-old brother's just like, just give me your 8 already. So we are a nation of prophets. We're a nation of prophets. I mean, how is it possible otherwise that our Kabbalists have everything in common with all of the tribal medicine chiefs of the planet? How's that possible? I mean, the tribal medicine chiefs who have entered into the ether on their whatever things they take in the jungles and have thousands of years of experience and have rules and regulations of the spiritual worlds. And when they meet a Jew who's done nothing but sit in yeshiva his whole life, but he had a spiritual tendency towards Kabbalah, and when they sit down and compare notes, they're talking the same exact stuff. How's that possible? We don't have jungle medicine in Israel. We have no tradition of jungle medicine. And yet when they go into the details, you find out that the Kabbalist has about 99.9% more intricacy outlined in Kabbalah than that medicine chief could ever have dreamed of. And while he teaches him some of it, the medicine chief's like, for every 15 details, he's like, my teacher taught me that about 20 years ago. Meaning there's another thing in common. And then the Kabbalist goes on for another 40 details. And then he's like, I met one medicine chief of a tribe. And he actually was keeping all of the laws, literally Shulchan Aruch, not just Torah. He was keeping all the laws Shulchan Aruch of the Kohen Gadol. He keeps all the laws of the Kohen Gadol. Crazy stuff. And it was like, he was like, how do you know this stuff? I'm like, how do you know this? Like, how do you know all these details of the Kohen Gadol? And he's like, who's the Kohen Gadol? You never heard of a Kohen Gadol. He's like, yeah, show. And I asked him to sing me some of his chants. So some of the chants he does when he's in a trance, every single consonant was either a yud or a hey or a vav or an aleph. Every single consonant. That's all that was going on there. It was just yuds and heys and vavs and alephs. An aleph's just what's an aleph? An aleph is a vav with two yuds. The whole and he's got like, about 60 hours of chants. Believe me, I didn't sit there for 60 hours, but he gave me several samples.
Like what?
You want me to start singing? Yeah, you could YouTube or whatever, or go on, music spots to hear it. So, anyway, long story, but you get what I'm saying. Prophecy. We're a nation of prophets. How do we know this stuff? How do we know all this stuff? And the answer is prophecy. Now, everybody, how did we do in our 12-tribe Jerusalem temple orb of light for the humanity? How did we do?
Not that great.
Oh boy. Plan C. Exile. Now, the truth is, God would have gotten rid of us there, except he promised he wouldn't. God, said we'd be an eternal nation, which on the one hand is a blessing. On the other hand, we've been through hell. Had he just forsaken us, we would have just disappeared into the Gentiles. And, it would have been over with the temple destruction. But God had this whole eternal nation thing. Meaning God was only going to do this once for our planet, and that's us. We are the ones. We are the ones. We are the chosen. Yeah? So he basically chose us for this job. We blew the job big time. And so what we did instead is we went into exile, which is our this is our ethical monotheism carpet bomb. We basically carpet bomb the planet with ethical monotheism. That became our new job. Meaning, if you guys can't get it together in Israel and do what you're supposed to be doing, which we blew big time, first temple and second temple, God said, so you'll do it in exile by just being there. And you'll be this holy righteous bunch of people in a little shtetl singing If I Were a Rich Man. And the Gentiles will just feel all bombed out by you for being toothless wonders who have 6 children all with different mothers. They'll just kind of have to deal with Jews in all their areas, and then they'll of course expel us every time they get a chance. Why? They expelled us for their own reasons, but why? So that we can carpet bomb the planet. Because Jews tend to stick together, and we would have just wound up in a couple countries and we'd never leave. But you have to exile us and exile us and exile us and exile us and exile us until the whole planet is talking God, which it is today. And we didn't do a great job of that either, so apparently we needed Christianity and Islam to talk God as well. But I don't want to go there exactly, because that's been pretty rough on the globe. Those two have been rough on the globe. We've been pretty gentle on the globe. We keep to ourselves. We just make you feel really guilty. They, on the other hand, have been a little bit vicious. Now, the last is the period that we went into in the 1800s, Common Era, when all these super Kabbalistic, expialicious rabbis realized simultaneously that the exile's over. The Vilna Gaon, the Baal Shem Tov, the Ben Ish Chai, other Kabbalists in Yemen, spontaneously just went boom, redemption is coming. And that is the redemption period. And that's the period we're in now. It's going real slow. I mean, not that slow. I mean, if I can pull away the board for a moment. Exhibit A, the Temple Mount. Yeah, it's not going that slow. It's moving, but I think when you're in it, it feels impatient. I mean, how many of you are losing your patience a little bit with Mashiach? So, but redemption's for sure coming. I mean, if you're impatient, you're crazy. Because if you know any history, we are in the most insane time ever. These amazing times. And the ingathering of the exiles happening now. Like more strict opinions a year ago, 2 years ago. Looser opinions are going to be in the next year or two. We're going to be in the majority of Jews on the planet. Shalom, everyone. Just go ahead.